Alright, welcome back. The house is coming into form and, well, I ordered a shed online, so hopefully once I get that delivered and put together, I'll have a little more room around here. So let's start with an addendum to the previous video. Considering the inaccuracy of the name moldmen for a species that's described as both plant and fungus, as well as the various problems and inaccuracies of the term veggie pygmy as a name for them, I looked for a reasonable name for a lichen-based life form, and I found the word lichenin. It has a meaning related to lichen, and it sounds like a reasonable exonym for a people group, being a name they are called by those other than themselves. What they call themselves, we got no idea. We don't know their language. So I will call them lichenin henceforth, and that's good enough for now. Moving on to the task at hand. After finding and updating two small folk species from 2nd edition to the 5e standard as playable races, and I'll shut this off, and I'll shut this off. Our next subject is originally from 3.5 and to my knowledge hasn't made an appearance since its introduction in 2007. Not the least reason for this might well be the way WotC managed to catastrophically shit the bed with the book Drove the Underdark. They listed the entry in the contents and forgot to put the stat blocks with the description in the book before it was published. That's a big mistake. They seriously did this. Anyway, later they posted an errata online, which has since been taken down, but if you dig around you can still find it in some form or another, the way I did. We're of course referring to the Vril. They're called Vril. Now, it seems that, historically, according to the canon lore, the Drow had quite regularly held goblins as slaves, servant, and protectorate populations, which is to say they were nice enough to them that they could use them as shock troops and cannon fodder in their wars, and give them all the menial tasks and disgusting jobs that no self-respecting dark elf would ever willingly do. It's useful people to have around. It seems, however, that some Drow wizards, alchemists, and possibly animal husbandry experts thought to themselves, collectively, we can do better. Either that or the collective thought was, hold my beer. As a consequence, after many generations and many years of experimentation and selective breeding, they created the Vril. A little bigger than the standard goblin, though still small folk. They had long gangly arms like a bugbear, bigger bat-like ears. They were bred with an innate weakness to poisons. They were a little smarter than their progenitor goblin stock. And for some reason they were purple with black stripes, like one of Gomez Adams' pinstripe suits. Now, lack of forethought is, of course, the ultimate reason for most of the mistakes in our real world. But this one takes the cake. Like, hey, we've got all these slaves around. What do you think will happen if we make them stronger and smarter? Most of them shortly escaped and struck out on their own. They still have the weakness to poison, but if you're allergic to bee stings, you just avoid bees, right? Now, you might think, hey, they're descended from goblins. Their ancestors are goblins. Taxonomically, they are goblins. And you'd be right. They are a variant form of Goblin. A subspecies, one might say, but they are distinct enough from any of their relatives that they could arguably be their own species. Remember, evolution is descent with modification, and these little guys are definitely very modified. Now, I'll read through the original description and the equivalent of traits, then the updated version, and then I'll show you the stat block. Quote from the Drow of the Underdark, 2007, "This small humanoid has dark violet skin with black tiger stripes on its back and arms. Dull yellow eyes peer out of a scrunched, bat-like face with pointed ears and a wide mouth filled with sharp fangs. It is somewhat stooped, and its long arms hang down past its knees. Vril are the product of dark elf wizards' experiments over many generations. These goblinoids are imbued with innate sonic abilities, and can alter the consistency of their own flesh. Most Vril are brutally trained as warriors by the Drow to weed out the weakest specimens." I'm not reading out a 3.5 stat block, so here's a list of, well, traits, or at least the 3.5 equivalent to traits. This is part of what wasn't in the errata. Or sorry, what wasn't in the book and was in the errata. Vulnerability to poison. As a defense measure, the Drow bred the Vril to be particularly susceptible to Drow sleep poison and spider-kind venom. Light blindness. Sudden exposure to bright light, such as sunlight or a daylight spell, blinds the Vril for 1 round. In addition, they can take a -1 circumstance penalty on attack rolls, saves, and checks when in bright light. Skin shift. Once per day, as a move action, a Vril can alter the consistency of its flesh for a number of rounds equal to 3 plus its con modifier. For the duration of the effect, it gains damage reduction 5 against its choice of bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage. Starting at 4th level and every 4 levels thereafter, a Vril can use this ability 1 extra time per day. And dismiss. 2 per day at 4th, 3 per day at 8th, 4 per day at 12th, and so on. Shriek. This is a fun one. Once per day as a standard action, a Vril can emit a horrible shriek, either as a 15-foot radius burst centered on itself, or as a 30-foot cone. Any creature in the affected area takes 1d6 points of sonic damage. A successful reflex save, DC 10 plus half of the Vril's character level plus the Vril's con modifier, reduces the damage by half. A Vril barbarian can use its shriek while raging. The shriek's damage increases by 1d6 at 3rd level and every 3 levels thereafter. 2d6 at 6th, 3d6 at 9th, and so on, up to a maximum of 4d6 points of sonic damage at 12th level. Skills. This is good. Due to their longer limbs and lanky build, Vril have a +4 racial bonus on climb checks. They also have a +2 racial bonus on balance and jump checks. Now, there was mention among the stat block of the stat block I didn't read, of another feat noted to be described in the Vril sidebar, which I couldn't find. So we'll just ignore that one. Between the given descriptions and the list of what we'll refer to as traits, we should be able to just update the terminology and bring these little bastards into 5e. The description and stat block I have now are slightly modified from the one created by Dungeon Dad on his channel, and his version is available on his video about the Vril, and link will be in the description. let's begin this. The small humanoid creature before you is reminiscent of a goblin. Though its limbs stretch well beyond the goblin's proportions, and it boasts a robust physique that indicates it is no stranger to tests of strength. Its skin is a deep purple lined with black stripes. Its face is almost bat-like with a wide mouth filled with sharp, tightly packed teeth. The creature's massive ears ever so slightly twitch and shudder as though it is listening to a myriad of sounds imperceptible to most. Born to die. Vril are the result of intergenerational experiments on goblins conducted by insidious drow wizards. The idea was to raise a species of goblin that could act as a powerful cast of minions for their schemes, with the intent of using them as loyal shock troops and guards when outside of the cities. While the brutal training and rigorous experimentation certainly managed to yield results, the Vril would quickly prove to be much more independent than the wizards could imagine. Rogue species. Some Vril still work at the behest of their creators, due in part to the fact that they were genetically modified with magic making them vulnerable to poison, a tool which their creators have access to in abundance. Despite this setback, the majority of Vril have since escaped the purpose originally intended for their species and have found themselves decidedly acclimated to life in the Underdark, using their extremely sharp sense of hearing to navigate the cavernous geography of the Underdark and their powerful shrieks as a method of communication over vast distances. A few Vril can control wide areas of territory with relative ease. Thoughtful combatants. Unlike standard goblins, Vril approach most problems with an inquisitive mind and a level of situational awareness that even hobgoblins can't help but admire. They will try to observe an opponent and attempt to glean what kind of weaponry they are using before engaging with an enemy. This helps ensure that they can make proper use of their skin shift ability in order to shrug off strikes that would otherwise see them dead. They're fond of ambush tactics as well, making use of their powerful shrieks before jumping into battle with vicious intent. How the Vril fit in with other goblin races has yet to be seen, though some scholars believe they may possess the strength of both body and mind to challenge hobgoblins for dominance. And if they should manage to find common ground and cooperation, the enemies of goblin kind are bound to wind up in deep trouble. Now, Vril as characters: a race of goblins that were originally raised by a group of drow determined to improve upon their species. The results were a breed of goblin that lost some of the nimble speed but gained a slew of new abilities and a hearty disposition. While still relatively small, Vril tend to be slightly taller than typical goblins and are built with a sturdy frame. Their arms are long, reaching past the knee, and end in clawed hands. Most Vril have skin that ranges from violet hues to deep purples, often adorned with black stripes. 5e traits. Your creature type is humanoid, goblin. You are small, 3 to 4 feet tall. Your speed is 30 feet. Your ability score increases. You get a +2 to con, and either your strength or intelligence gets a +1. It's up to you. You can speak, read, and write Common, Elvish, Goblin, and Undercommon. You have blind sight within a range of 15 feet. You have dark vision for 120 feet. You have a climb speed equal to your move speed. You are toxin prone. You have vulnerability to poison damage, meaning any check made against being poisoned is made at disadvantage. Sound processing. You have resistance to thunder damage and cannot be deafened. Keen hearing. You have advantage on perception checks that rely on hearing. Shriek. Here's the modern version. When you take the attack action on your turn, you can replace one of your attacks with an ear-splitting shriek that emanates from you in either a 15-foot radius, centered on you, or a 30-foot cone. Each non-viril creature in the area must make a Constitution saving throw, DC 8, plus your con modifier and proficiency bonus. On a failed save, the creature takes 1d8 thunder damage and is deafened for 1 minute. On a successful save, the creature takes half damage and is not deafened. This damage increases by 1d8 when you reach character levels 5, going to 2d8, 11 to 3d8, and 17 going to 4d8. You can use your shriek a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. Skin Shift. As a bonus action. Bonus action. You can alter the consistency of your skin, giving you resistance to either bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage until you use this ability again or finish a long rest. When you reach level 5, you may choose to gain resistance to fire, lightning, acid, or cold damage. When you reach level 11, you may choose to gain resistance to necrotic or radiant damage. When you reach level 17, you may choose to gain resistance to any damage type other than psychic. You can use Skin Shift a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended bonuses when you finish a long rest. Alright, let me show you the stat block, and I'll talk to you in a minute. Okay, hopefully you enjoyed that. I think that should about do it for the Vril. Let me know what you think. Are these things you might want to use as a PC, maybe as an NPC? Give me ideas. Check out Dungeon Dad's video in the description. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I'll talk to you next time.